If you want to master painting this year, the first thing you need to do is master drawing. Maybe you've tried painting and maybe you're frustrated with the painting, but chances are the thing that you're really frustrated with is actually the drawing underneath, because drawing is the foundation of everything. Let me explain. If you look here at this painting, can you imagine the bowl being torqued? If the bowl was not drawn right, no matter what kind of painting you do, no matter how good it is, the viewer is going to see the drawing off. They're going to see the torqued bowl and they're going to just see that and look past everything else. But if the drawing is right and everything looks like it's supposed to be, then when you start painting, then everything will come together and you'll be happy with your painting. So there are 8 things that I want to point out to you that will help you level up in your drawing. If you want to master drawing so that you can be a better painter, these 8 things will help you be able to do just that. So to start with, if you want to draw an object, maybe you want to draw this guy here. The first thing you want to do is you want to look at it as a combination of shapes. So instead of looking at him as an animal here, we're going to look at him as a combination of shapes. And here is a picture of what I've done here. This is my finished drawing, but before I even got to drawing the object, I focused on just the shapes. So instead of thinking about the object at all, I look at what shapes are inside that object. And I drew these shapes in. Then I drew those shapes on my drawing paper and I checked it, made sure everything looked right. And I was focused on the shapes and not the object. And then as I began to refine my drawing shapes and change those shapes into the object emerged. But I started with the basic shapes. So always start with the basic shapes. You're going to pay attention to the height, the width, the tilt, any angles that you see. You're going to look at the space around it and make sure everything is correct. And these shapes don't have to be just squares and circles and ovals. They can be organic shapes. So if you look here, you can see, yeah, we have an oval here and we have almost an egg shape here. So we have some shapes that are curved just a little bit. Different shapes here that you see. These are not a geometric shape or a shape with a name. These are organic shapes. So it doesn't have to be a specific shape. You just draw the shapes that you see, and then once you've got that, you change the shapes into the object. So watching for the shapes that you see first and let the object emerge is key. So that is the first thing to look for. The second thing to look for is to actually draw what you see, what you're looking at. It's easy to draw a symbol of what you're looking at. Maybe you want to draw a house. We know a symbol of a house is just a silly little square with a triangle on it. That's a symbol of a house. And I know that's very basic and nobody is going to draw exactly that. But if you're drawing a house, your mind shifts to a symbol of it. Think about symbols that you see. You might see symbols on maps. You might see symbols on signs. Those are very basic shapes that tell you a story. They tell you what you need to do. And sometimes our mind shifts to that. And if you think about it, when you were little and you wanted to learn to draw, you might have gone to your mom or dad or somebody and said, "Can you help me draw a person?" And they're going to draw a stick figure. That's not what a person looks like, but it's a symbol of a person. There are legs, there are arms, there's a body, and there's a head. And so that is a symbol of a person. What we have to do is we have to make that mental shift. So we're not looking at this as a symbol. We're looking at what we're seeing and we're drawing exactly what we see. We're drawing it in a combination of shapes like I just showed you and changing those shapes into an object, not drawing what we think we see, but drawing what we actually see. And you can tell this by, if you look at it and it feels like it's something that that's very, very basic, then you know you probably changed your mindset to think about a symbol instead of actually drawing what you're looking at. The next thing is, say you want to draw this flower here. I started sketching this flower here, and I've got a lot of petals. Everything is not exactly the same. If I'm drawing a symbol of the flower, I would have drawn all these petals just exactly the same shape. But I'm drawing what I see. So now what I need to do is I need to make sure that actually what I drew is what I actually see. So you can look at the drawing here, and I've looked at each petal and I've tried to pay attention to that. One thing that I can do that will help me make sure that it is accurate is to turn it upside down. So if I turn it upside down, what that does is it changes it from an object into an abstract shape. So now I'm looking at this abstract shape, and I can change anything I need to. I can correct things, I can add things, and make sure everything is right, but I'm looking at it different. It changes my perspective, but it also changes it into an abstract shape. I can turn it sideways as well, and a lot of times when I'm stuck, or one of my students is stuck, I will say, turn it upside down and check it. And 9 times out of 10, they can find the problem themselves because it's changed the way you look at it, and you're looking at just abstract shapes instead of the object. So turn it upside down, turn it sideways, you can turn it around, you can turn it all 3 directions and just check it from all those points of view and make sure that it's right. So turning it upside down is one of the biggest steps that we teach and to our students, just to check your work. When I was learning how to paint, I was so frustrated. I didn't feel like I could do what I wanted to do. And I discovered that the more I improved in my drawing, the better I was at painting. Over 25 years of teaching, I've also discovered that that is true with my students. As soon as they become confident in their drawing skills, then their paintings take off. That's why I designed my online drawing course for painters, to help you be confident in your drawing skills, which is the foundation of painting. You can click on the link below, Happy Artist, to check out my online drawing course, and I hope to see you inside. Another thing that you can do is plumb lines. Plumb lines are vertical or horizontal lines that show you how things line up. So you can do a plumb line for a couple different reasons. In this drawing, you can see here, I drew some plumb lines. I drew one at the tip of the nose. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to get the tip of the nose so I could actually look at the space around. And because I drew a line here, I've enclosed this space. This space around the object is called a negative space. So you want to enclose it so that you can make sure that you've got your shape just right. This, because I've got this shape in here, I'm able to see the bridge of the nose, and that is correct. Another thing is I can line up things. The biggest key to plumb lines is lining up elements in your drawing. In this horizontal plumb line, you can see that the top of the ear lines up with the center of the eye. So that helps you know where those things are located. And then you can see that the front of the eye lines up with the corner of the mouth. So all of these things will help you. The bottom of the ear lines up with the center of the philtrum right here. So a lot of different things that you can look at, and using plumb lines will help you make sure that you've lined everything up. It's really easy when you start sketching and drawing something and it doesn't matter if it's a portrait or anything else, but it's easy to get something off and it's not lined up. Maybe you make it lean or something. If you get the plumb lines in, both horizontal and vertical, it will help you a lot. And one of the best things that you can do is use a T-square. This T-square lines up with the top edge of the paper. So if I put my T-square and I butt it right up against the edge of the paper here, I know that this ruler is placed perfectly vertical, which helps me be able to quickly get my line in and not accidentally tilt it one way or another. So plumb lines are key in helping you make sure that all the elements in your drawing line up, whether it's still life, a person, an animal, a figure, whatever you want. The next thing you want to do is you want to do what's called comparative measurement. Comparative measurement is comparing one object against another, or comparing the height against the width on the same object. So let's look at this tomato here. If we compared the width here compared to the height, we would know what size that tomato is. And it looks like it's probably a little wider than it is taller. So you can use that to make sure that you've got it right. You can also use that, look at this tall bottle. It may be hard to get that size in correctly, but you could actually compare the tomato to the bottle. And the way you can do that is you can say, okay, you can say the height of this bottle is how many tomatoes high. And so you can measure and you can say maybe 1, 2, 3.5 tomatoes high. And that will help you make sure that this object in comparison to this object matches. So comparing one object to another, or the height compared to the width, will help you on that, making sure that they all come together nicely. And that's a great tool to use, especially when you're working with more than one object, But when you're working with just one object, you can compare different elements in that drawing. You can compare, if it's a figure, you can compare how tall is the torso compared to the legs, compared to the length of the arms, all sorts of different comparisons that you can do that will help you make sure that your drawing is accurate. So comparative measurement is key. The next thing is negative space. And we talked about negative space briefly. Say you wanted to draw this horse. Negative space is probably the best tool I use. I use it a lot. It's probably my most favorite tool. And negative space is the space around an object. Negative space helps me so much when I draw. As I drew this, I not only looked at the horse I was drawing, but I looked at the negative space around the horse. And look at this shape here. Can you see this shape right here? This is not a shape with a name. This is what we call an organic shape. But if I draw that exact shape, what I'm doing is I'm creating the top edge of this leg and the bottom edge of this leg, which gives me my angles for both of those legs. In here, if I drew this shape, I'm getting the angle of the legs here. And that gives me so much information. So as I draw, I like to look at the negative space as much as the positive space or the object itself. So when I'm drawing, I do what's called ground reversal. I bounce back and forth between negative and positive. So I'm looking at the horse and I'm sketching, then I look at the negative space. Oh, I need to adjust that. And I'll make that adjustment. Then I'll go back and look at the horse. Then I'll bounce back and forth. So that ground reversal helps me be able to make sure that the elements of my drawing fit together like they should, and I've got my angles correct. The next thing is, one of the key things to drawing is to draw light and loose. When you draw, I'm going to grab this pencil here. When you draw, and if you tend to draw heavy and dark, you're probably holding your pencil closer to the lead. What you want to do is you want to pull it back, and you want to draw light and loose. So as you draw, if you hold your pencil back, or you can hold it, I like to hold mine at the top when I start and extend my finger, and I like to draw light and loose. And I'm sure you probably can't even see this. But as I'm drawing, because it's so light and loose, I don't have to worry about grabbing my eraser constantly to erase, because any lines that I don't need will just recede into the background. So as I'm drawing, I hold my pencil like this, and then I'll get closer as I start adding the detail. But I'm working big to little and light to dark. So I make sure my pencil is, lead is light. And I'm actually working with a 4H pencil on this one. This is an HB pencil on the mechanical pencil. But if I keep my lines light and loose, they'll recede into the background. So look at this little guy. I started drawing him light and loose, and you wouldn't have been able to even see him at all on the camera. But what I did is I made sure I've gotten everything in its place, and then after I got everything in its place, I made sure I checked it, I turned it upside down, I looked at the negative space, and then I started committing to my lines. So when you commit to your lines, that means you're drawing darker. That means those lines are there to stay. I had a teacher that kept coming around, and he was telling me, Susie, you've got to quit committing to your lines too soon. And I was trying so hard to make everything perfect. I was caught in that perfectionistic stage, and I wanted everything to be perfect. So I would draw a line, I would erase, I would draw a line, I would erase. And he came around several times. He says, if I come back around, I'm going to show you what you need to do to let go of that perfectionism and to draw light and loose. And when he came back around, he saw that I was still doing these committed lines, and he asked if he could borrow my pencil. And he took my pencil and he just drew like this right over the top of it. He says, okay, it's not perfect anymore. So now you can draw and you don't have to worry about perfection, because it's not perfect. I've already scribbled on it. You can draw what you need to draw and just let it go. And for some reason, that made such a difference to me. It made me realize that I was so caught in everything being perfect that I was not allowing myself to draw, to adjust, and to make sure everything was right. I also have learned that many lines give you many options. So say you're drawing an oval. Instead of drawing one oval like this, you can draw many and get your lines, get your oval the way you want it. And if you've drawn light enough, those lines just recede into the background. Once you have your drawing in, then you can change your pencil. You can draw more a committed line with your whatever pencil you want. You can change the pencil number you use. And then once you've committed, then you know everything is where you want it to be. One thing that you can do to make sure that you're drawing light and loose is pay attention to how much you grab your eraser, how much you erase your drawing. If you are erasing your drawing a lot, then you're committing to your lines too soon. So try drawing light and loose and see what that does for you. The last thing to keep in mind is make sure that your pencil is nice and sharp. If you have a sharp pencil, you'll be able to get those light, loose lines and you'll be able to draw much better. Making sure that your pencil is sharp is key here. You don't want to work with a pencil that is dull like this. Make sure that you have that nice point to your pencil, and that will help you getting those light lines in, and it will help you with your drawing altogether. If you don't like grabbing a pencil sharpener all the time, then you can use a mechanical pencil. And even an inexpensive mechanical pencil like this will help you because you don't have to sharpen it all the time. So especially when I travel, I will use a mechanical pencil, but I tend to grab one almost all the time because I like to just click it and keep drawing instead of having to sharpen it. If you want to use one of these other types of pencils, make sure that you have a pencil sharpener right by you so that you can sharpen it and keep going. If you have to get up to go sharpen it, you tend to draw too long and you should have had your pencil sharpened quite a while ago. So make sure that you have a sharp pencil to draw with. So these are the things that will help you level up in your drawing. So if you want to learn how to master painting, the key is to learn how to master drawing. I've taught hundreds of students how to paint, and the first thing that I do is I teach them how to draw. When they gain confidence in their drawing abilities, then they're able to be a great painter because that confidence goes into their painting. And also, when you are confident in your drawing and you know everything is correct, then you're not worried about losing your lines. You're not worried about does it look right or does it not? And you're not spending a bunch of time painting something that you don't know is going to turn out. It's easy for us to sometimes think, oh, I'll fix it when I paint. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that the foundation of your painting is accurate. The drawing is accurate because that is the basis of your painting. And once you learn that, then your painting will be amazing. So make sure that you have that drawing foundation first. So if you're interested in learning how to master drawing so that you can master painting, click on my link below to Happy Artist, where I will share with you all the things that you need to learn to be able to master drawing and to gain that confidence in your drawing ability. Thanks for watching.